Hey, this is Seth with Electrek, and today we're looking at the BMW i40, and this is the 40 spec, which is rear-wheel drive only, and that's important because we're about to take a look at something that kind of bothered me. So, under the hood, you have a cover, and this is pretty common these days, but, I wanted to see what kind of packaging, BMW, the Bavarian Motor Works, did here, and it's actually quite frustrating because I feel like they could have done a lot better. So there's a huge hole here, and obviously you see the axle down there. This is probably where the front motor goes in the M50 version of this. So this is the 40 version, only rear wheel drive. It's powerful, 300 over 300 horsepower, pretty solid. Not anything like a Tesla, performance, but still solid. But this to me shows like just lack of any, packaging forethought. I mean, this is a big mess. It's loosely packaged. There's you could put a frunk in here quite easily and quite big, if you had any forethought. So this is kind of frustrating because, BMW's been making EVs since the i3, which is, a decade old, and they recently stopped making those. And that was a purpose-built EV. This is clearly, very clearly, a 4 Series that was, they took they don't need a hood this big. Let's get this down so I can close this thing. So why is that important? Well, if you look at the i4 compared to a Model 3, for instance, and my Model 3 is a little torn up, so disregard that. You got this huge bonnet here, and there's no frunk, so there's no big frunk. So you have this basically wasted space from there to there, whereas on a Tesla, you've got a much smaller space, and that space is mostly frunk. So a really good use of space, really good tight packaging in the Tesla versus the BMW. The i4, it's a 4 Series. It's a little bit bigger than the 3 Series, obviously. And the Tesla Model 3 is supposed to kind of line up with the 3 Series. So for me, that's a little frustrating, that BMW really didn't do a lot of work here. I mean, they basically gutted a 4 Series car. Now, the back is actually pretty roomy. It is a hatchback, which is nice, versus the Model 3, which is kind of a trunk. If you take the opening width, you're going to be able to fit a bike much better, for instance, in the back of it, and put down the seats. So that's a plus. It's a little bit more like a Model Y in that respect, but and also it's automatic versus the 3, which you have to do yourself. Also, here's something annoying. So you're going to plug this in the winter. Of course, you have to open it twice, which is dumb. And then you have to open a third time if you do DC fast charging, which not a huge deal, but just an annoying thing. They had the i3 10 years ago. They could have figured this out. Also, you notice the angle here. So if this door is open and it's plugged in and it snows, you're just going to have a big pile of snow on top of that charger. So that's another lack of forethought here, which BMW, you've been making EVs for a decade, theoretically. You should know this stuff by now, but this is just, I mean, they even put it in the same spot. This is just a 4 Series repackaged with electric batteries and a motor. So that said, this supposedly gets 300 miles. On my computer, it always says 240 miles when I fill it up. So I'm not sure if it's just my driving or the person before me's driving or what, but it does have a nice sunroof compared to a glass roof. That's going to be nicer for some people. It does look nice. I don't know how people feel about the so-called beaver teeth front, but it's fine. It is what it is. Some people will enjoy that, I'm sure. So onto the good stuff, like hopping in. So BMW makes a great interior. Like I don't think many people are complaining about that. So let's hop in here, and I'm going to widen the view. So start up the car, brake down, push the button, get that sound. You get this noise, and then I'm gonna hit drive. Not gonna hit the dog, hopefully. And I'm also pretty happy with the CarPlay implementation here. Let me put this down for a second. There's a seatbelt. So we're gonna go on a quick drive here. Quite quiet. There's not a lot of dings and rattles, which you know, that's a common complaint with Teslas, and my Teslas are no exception to that. This is quiet. It feels firm. Feels like, you know, everything between the tire and you is a lot firmer and a lot, you know, built thicker and better and over engineered. And I think that's common with BMW and, you know, German cars in general. They just want to say they're just built better. And, you know, like the 4 Series is no exception. BMW did a good job there. What is kind of interesting though is it'll actually let you do, like unlike most cars, it'll actually let you do assisted driving on any road. Like this road doesn't even have lines on it yet. Let's see if it, nope, it's going right off the road. Whereas I think perhaps the Tesla might have steered that one. So I keep it in sport mode. I don't know why anybody would keep it in any other mode. I don't, you know, just seems silly not to do sport mode. All right, here's a road with some lines on it. Let's see if the assist actually. So we're gonna put the assist on, assisted driving mode. Now, yeah, it's going right off the road. So usually it kind of picks up the lines. Assisted driving mode. And nope, going right over the lines. But you do notice it's quite quiet. There's not a lot of rattles. Oh, here we go. We got a little steer there. So it was steering itself. All right, it figured out the road, so it's now steering itself. That's not me. Nope. All right. So that's what happens when you don't have your hand on the wheel long enough. So it's this weird kind of somewhere in between autopilot and nothing. Where it assists on lane keep sometimes. On back roads, it's pretty worthless. On highways, though, it does seem to do an alright job. And when I say alright, I mean it does bounce around a little bit more than an autopilot does. And certainly more than like a Super Cruise or Blue Cruise, where, you know, you're not even supposed to touch the wheel. So let's jump on the highway here and see if we get any better results. And we can do a little acceleration test if nobody's behind me. All right, nobody's behind me, so we'll start from 0. It's laying it on the floor, and that's going up a hill a little bit, but not a terribly fast 0 to 60 time. But you know, we're up to 60 on the on-ramp pretty quickly and easily, so not a huge complaint here. All right, so let's try this again here. We're pushing the button. Assisted driving mode. And we're going right over the lane. Maybe I'm doing the wrong thing here. Distance control. Assisted driving mode. Okay. So now we're in the lane. All right, no gas, no pedal. We're staying in the lane. I'm giving it a little torque just so it stays in assisted driving mode. If I don't, it'll pull off. See how the yellows go on? So I have to wiggle it just like a Tesla. I'm gonna switch lanes. I have to do this manually. Otherwise. All right, so we're still in assisted driving mode. The speed limit's at 55, we're going 64. We're turning now, so it's turning on its own. But notice that we're not like in the middle. We're kind of going, we're bouncing back and forth, and it's asking me to put my hand on the wheel. So this is definitely not autopilot, super cruise, etc. Mercedes level driving. And you know, BMW is not a it's a driving company. You know, you're supposed to enjoy the drive, which I quite do with this vehicle, but it's not you know, for long trips on cruise. It's not gonna be as relaxing as some of the other autopilots out there. What else should I talk about? This is the screen. You have a little like acceleration goes up to, but it's measured in percentage, and then regen goes down. You have the speed limit there. I should go into all the stuff here. So BMW, you know, there's CarPlay, and it's a nice wide screen here, so it's super helpful in maps, as you could see before. But the BMW kind of interface has a bunch of interesting stuff as well. It has its own maps, which are, you know, not as good as Google's, obviously, but all right, here's a truck in front of us. Let's see when we slow down. Getting kind of tight, but we are slowing down. It's asking me to put my hands on the wheel again. It's got this like cards interface, which, you know, like you have weather and personal assistant. Here, I'm gonna get off here. And, you know, that's not terribly good. You know, this stuff isn't super helpful, and I think most people are going to stay in CarPlay or Android Auto most of their time. I haven't tried the my BMW stuff. I'm sure that's great, but it just doesn't seem to be super helpful, and it does take a little time to get used to. So I spent some time just playing around with it, and I got a little bit more familiar. And basically what it told me is like, I don't need any of this stuff. So, you know, route preview, are you gonna really use this, or are you gonna use Google Maps, or, you know, Apple's Maps? Probably you're gonna use the one from your phone. What is nice is the wireless CarPlay and Android Auto works flawlessly. I mean, you keep your phone in your pocket when you get in the car, and in fact, I'm recording this from the same phone that is projecting on it, so that's pretty cool. It works really well, and it's low latency, and this is actually a iPhone 12, so you don't need to be in super duper whatever. Let's see, infotainment apps here. You've got some, you know, they mix CarPlay and BMW's own apps. So for instance, if you went to Google Maps and CarPlay, then you get the CarPlay interface. And I think most people are going to want to stay in there. You know, you're going to have your nice big Apple or Google apps that you're familiar with, and icons that you'd want to use. Lots of stuff out there for this, and it works wirelessly. Again, I'm recording from the same phone that's projecting, so there's a lot of extra speed available. This is not gonna time out. The Bluetooth is plenty fast. Let's see what else here. I guess if we'll go down below. We got 2 vents. The heating and cooling controls are always on, which is nice. So I don't know. Air conditioning is pretty good. You've got so many buttons down here. And you've got a scroll mouse, which I played with. Like if you want to keep your hands down and kind of only your eyes on the touch bar, you can use that thing. For me, it's kind of a neat toy, but if I really want to get something done, I'm just going direct to the screen. And of course, the screen gets filled up with your fingerprints pretty quickly. Let's see what else here. We can try the lane assist here. See how it goes. This is another back road, but it's a little bit better marked. So we're in assisted driving mode, going 34 miles per hour. And it is not doing lane assist. Oh yeah, it is. It's hard to tell. Yep, it's doing it. It's doing it, and still doing it. We're bouncing around on the left and the right. So not a great experience here, but it's doing it. All right, I'm doing the shake the wheel thing. So it clearly knows it's not great at this, and it wants you to keep your hands on the wheels, and I'll give it a little wiggle every once in a while to keep it honest. But it works. It'll work sometimes. I don't know if BMW is going to keep this updated with the latest stuff. It's not. No, okay, it's asking again for that. And so final thoughts. It kind of feels like BMW did really well with this thing for not having tried at all. Like, this is a 4 Series. They gutted the internal combustion engine out of this thing. They kept the long hood that is absolutely pointless for this car. And that also kind of takes room out of the back. So while it's super comfortable inside, recently my family, I had to pick up my kids from camp. And we were deciding which car should I take, the Model 3 or this car. And when it came down to it, there's just not as much storage space in this car. The Model 3 has the frunk, and it's got that little area below the trunk. And, our kids have duffel bags and stuff from camp and laundry and stuff. And we just didn't think it would all fit in here. So, that's a little bit embarrassing, because the Model 3 is supposed to be a smaller car than the 4 Series BMW. And it actually, stores more and can house more. So that's a bummer. The BMW drive is much better. The build quality, worlds better than Tesla. And will BMW get a better, purpose-built electric drivetrain first, or will Tesla improve its quality control first? I think that's a race we'll keep an eye on.